Hello, I'm Somi Arian. I'm a tech philosopher and the founder of Impeak. My guest on today's podcast is Evan Varsamis, the founder of Mintify, a powerful tool for traders and enthusiasts in the NFT scene. Evan shares his journey with us and explains what made him decide to build Mintify and what the future holds for the company. One of the funniest things about, getting to know people through Discord and Twitter, with everybody having avatars, is that you always have this imagination of what somebody could look like. So when I looked at your Moonbird avatar, I was imagining, a man in their maybe late 40s, early 50s, a little bit chubby. I don't know what it is about the Moonbirds. They always make me feel like the person I'm going to see is quite chubby.
Yeah, no, especially like I think I have the emperor body as well, which is like way more wide. But I love it. I love my moonbird, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. I love my Moonbird. I have mine on my shoulder in all the pictures that you've probably seen.
Yeah,
So I discovered you through our Twitter conversation, and I was, I had my team send out messages to people who were following, and we were
yeah,
following each other to say that, hey, we've got this thing coming up, and then you were kind enough to mention that, that you could share the allow list on your Discord, and then we got talking,
yeah.
and I discovered Mintify. So tell me a little bit about Mintify because I minted one, but I haven't had time to explore it properly. So tell me a little about what problem it's solving, and why did you want to build it, and a bit about your background and how you got it
Yeah,
started.
yeah, sounds good. First of all, thanks for having me here today. Appreciate it.
Of
So my
course.
journey, I'm Evan. I'm based in New York at this point. We moved basically for good last year with my wife. I'm Greek though, born and raised. So I've started my journey when I was like 14, 15 years old. Basically, as a self-taught designer developer, started building websites and some blogs, and then I had a couple exits by the age of 18. Then I had to join the Navy for about a year. Then I got my bachelor's in shipping and finance, and then I launched a media agency for about almost a couple of years. And then I went on and bootstrapped my Web2 company, Gadget Flow, scaled it to basically over 10,000 customers, and we're currently reaching about 30 million consumers a month. We work with Fortune 500 brands and thousands of crowdfunding campaigns. And we basically bootstrapped this business between 2012 and today to like an 8-figure valuation. And in between, I invested in a few tech companies, and I jumped into crypto in 2015, late 2015 or so. So super early before the big, bull run in 2017. And then, I started exploring around like, blockchain technology, made some trades as well. And then fast forward, basically 2021, I jumped into Web3, figured out, everything. I was moving to the States at that point. So I saw like Bored Apes minting. I was like, I'll just, add it to the reading list, unfortunately. And then, I basically jumped into Web3 around like August, September. Started minting some projects. Most of them were like rug pulls, unfortunately. And then I started being serious with some of the blue chips, like the Clonex community and the Proof Collective as well. Towards the end of the year, and I came up with the idea of Mintify around late December. So I quickly assembled the team early first, second week of January, and we started building our MVP. So long story short, we launched our MVP in closed beta in March this year. And then we pretty much like opened up the platform just a few days ago with our last drop. But primarily we've been bootstrapping this business by like releasing 50, 100, 200 passes every other month. So we can fund the team and, resources and everything. But basically now I'm super excited that we're going to be announcing our seed round of funding with some crypto native and Web3 native funds joining the round. So Mintify, what is it? So basically I saw all the gaps in the space as a trader because I was quite familiar with like Coinbase Pro, like Binance, BitMEX, from the crypto days. And I was, I saw that all the analytics tools that are out there currently for pro traders, they were pretty basic and they were not like building a brand behind them rather than just a tool. So coming from Web2, understanding like marketing, product market fit and everything, I saw this gap as well as the opportunity to build something that can scale to the millions, not just necessarily 1,000 agent traders. That's pretty much like the current state of the market, right? So, I tried to validate that thesis by talking to like a few advisors from funds, from institutions. And we basically narrowed down our vision into three different pillars. So the first one is to build like pro and quant trading tools. And then the second one is our creator studio in our launchpad. It's going to come later this year. And the third one, which basically what powers the first and second pillar, is our institutional grade infrastructure. In Web3, everyone has access to like the blockchain. So it's important to have like accuracy when it comes down to data. So we focus just on that. We create our own proprietary technology. We partnered with Alchemy, our node provider, which is the most reliable, basically, node infrastructure right now in the space. And we create our own proprietary technology on how we're pulling data, how we're saving data, and how fast we're serving it at the front end. So our goal, basically, in short, is to basically help pro and quant traders at this point. This is what we're focusing on. Provide them as many tools as possible, with as much accuracy as possible, to profitable trade, discover, and analyze NFT collections.
Amazing. I love it because, I was thinking about the fact that how strange it is. Something like OpenSea has raised so much money. And when you think about the possibilities of what you can do on their platform is so small, it's just so rudimentary. And when you think of like, where is all this money gone, right? For example, if I wanted to have a simple limit order type thing, right? Like where I would say, buy me this doodle when the price falls to, let's say, 8 ETH or whatever, right? You can't do that. Are these some of the things that you're going to be able to enable?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that, so that's a much broader discussion. I think that marketplaces are important, but in Web3, it's all about having the choice of you choosing like which platform you're going to use. So I personally feel like, and the rest of the team as well, that aggregators like Mintify are going to pretty much like define the market in the coming years rather than marketplaces themselves. In Web2, we have Amazon, Shopify, AliExpress, from the e-commerce side that I'm coming from, basically dominating the market. Like you can expect like, okay, I'm going to raise 50 million. I'm going to, compete with Amazon. Like you're done. It's not going to happen, regardless of how much you want it. But in Web3, I think that marketplaces are gonna basically lead the market forward in terms of like user adoption, because of their branding, because of their utility and everything. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to like pro quant traders, there's going to be a tremendous competition around like this space, with aggregators basically competing for market share. And it's gonna, I think I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of competition, because that's how you basically drive innovation. And that's what I want to see like in the space. I feel like we present Mintify as part of this new wave of NFT products and infrastructure. Whereas I think that this space, even though it was quite small this last few months or this last year and a half or so, I just feel like it was kind of stuck with some of these basic tools that were available in the market. They've done an amazing job basically pushing those to the market, rushing those to the market as fast as possible, because they were needed at that point. Like you had to trade, and you should have had the option, let's say June 2021, to see like what a sell wall looks like, what a selling pressure, for instance, right? Or to have access to like volume and sales and Wallet Explorer and pretty much everything in between. But everything that was built up until like later, like mid this year, was not built to scale, was not built to introduce and onboard basically millions of people in the next few years.
I would love to have you on the platform, your team, to come in and teach people how to use Mintify properly, but also explain a little bit more to them about, like what does it take to be a pro trader in this new digital asset environment, right? Yeah. So one of our clients for Impeak is Morgan Stanley, and they have given us 100 people from Morgan Stanley can join the platform, and explore. Of course, this is a very new area to them, but they're very, there are a lot of other similar kind of traditional finance traders that are very curious about this new area, and they don't take it seriously right now. They're just curious. But I think in say 5-10 years time, these NFTs could become maybe not in the form that they are now, but it's a whole new digital asset area
Oh yeah.
that people can, trade just like they can trade any other asset.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that we haven't seen a lot of sophisticated traders basically jump into Web3 just yet. So my vision, by being like part of this crypto market since 2015, that has given me basically a much broad view, I guess, of this whole space. I saw like everyone being onboarded from like stocks and derivatives into like crypto in 2016, 2017, and then like retail investors in 2017. That's how, that bull run basically skyrocketed to like 70, 80K. But I think that this is one of the reasons we're building Mintify, right? The fact that once these sophisticated traders are going to hop on, they're going to need sophisticated tooling. They're going to need tools that they're used to, and they can't just, they can't just move forward with just basic trading tools like just a simple sell wall or just seeing the volume, for instance. So sophisticated tools could include anything from like, like having buy orders, sell orders, quant trading tools. The way we think about it is that we want to create a product that's available for 3 different types of traders. One is like the normie trader who's just, tipping their toes. They have the capital and they're hopping on into like Web3 and they're like, okay, I want to buy a few projects, but I don't know how to navigate between those projects. So we created a section, for instance, that you can see the top metaverse collections. So if you're like into metaverse land, you can quickly see what are the top 10 based on volume, based on sales, based on XYZ, doesn't matter. So that's like the normie version, right? A simplified UI, UX that's like Web3 driven, that's like innovative. It's not necessarily like a Web 1 or a Web 2 experience, right? So it's kind of exciting for you to discover like what's new about what's basically what are the highlights of like Web3 and slowly get on board into like a more pro version of trading, right? So this takes me to the second tier. That's the pro traders. The pro traders are anywhere from like degen traders for people that are interested in doing some basic technical analysis around charts. They want to have access to like sweeping tools, super node for process transactions. And they want to basically, the idea for pro traders is that we want to have everyone trade within a single tab. I've traded as a degen trader and as a blue chip trader throughout these last few months. And the idea is that you need multiple tabs, like 50 tabs open literally, that checks the rarity, that checks the ranking, basically listings from multiple marketplaces. So what's unique about Mintify right now in our pro trading tools is that you literally need a single platform that connects to all of the marketplaces, that shows you all the listings, but also gives you the ability to purchase directly through Mintify. So you can have access to the order book, you can check the charts, you can check the tokens, you can check rarities based on different methods, such as, so we rolled this out recently. We have the Jacquard index, we have the scoring method that most of the other platforms are using. And of course, we partner up with Rarity Sniper, which is well respected in the space. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's all about options and you basically having all the tools under one roof rather than having to maintain multiple subscriptions, use multiple products, and get familiar with all these different products, right? And then that takes me to the next basically level, which is being a quant trader. Quant traders are all about data, and this is one of the reasons we're building our infrastructure. So we can give like access to traders to our data, historical real-time data, so they can build algos. So they can trade based on algos. They can set buy orders. They can set sell orders based on variables, based on algos. So this is something very exciting that we're working on. We're calling it the quant trading dashboard. We may have to rethink the name, but the idea is that like if you go and trade right now, like NASDAQ stocks or like S&P 500, you can compete with bots. And the reality is that the entire like stock exchange is based on, especially from the institution side, it's based on bots. You as a retail investor hopping on Robinhood and saying, okay, I'm going to buy 100 Apple stocks. That's great, but you're never going to do it faster. You're never going to buy or sell faster than, a bot that said like a buy order or a sell order because something happened in terms of like variables. So I definitely see personally the future of NFT trading heading towards that in the next few quarters, not in 5 or 10 years. And then, we can have another discussion about, having like a trade marketplace. I definitely see dynamic NFTs being in the play within the next year or so, as well as additional like industries and markets being part of like blockchain technology and, transitioning into like the NFT space and Web3 in general.
Do you think that the whole business model of NFTs is problematic because of trading in for some kinds of, like I understand for things like PFPs it might be fine.
Yeah.
But let's say for example with utility tokens that are like ours, or yours, like you buy a token and then you access the platform, similar to in Peak. I feel like for our utility type tokens, we don't necessarily want people to trade them, because if they do, the price keeps going up, and because people are paying a lot more for it, they now have new expectations, because they're whereas the product, the service is what it is, right? So the way I see it, like this is the way that I'm gonna get around it, is that we're gonna have a certain number of NFTs in the beginning, but after, let's say after a year or 18 months, when the business model is established, we have built the foundation, we're no longer going to do NFTs. We will have like these tokens that are not transferable, that like that you just buy, basically like a subscription token.
That's a good question. I don't think it's problematic. I think that we're in this kind of like discovery phase. Like we don't realize, like all of us that are like into Web3, we don't realize how early we are. And I know that most people are like sick of this word or phrase, but it's it is what it is, right? Like we're just so early. We don't know what's the norm is going to be, what the norm is going to be in the next 4 months or 6 months or 12 months. We don't know where the space is going to be. We can just have a vision and keep building on top of it. Like I don't think that this whole space will ever go mainstream in a way that, okay, like 8 billion people will at least own a single NFT, right? I don't think that's the case. But on the other hand, I think that I saw this transition of like crypto being like just for like geeks and nerds, and then for institutions, and then retail investors hopped on, right? But if you see like the background of those retail investors, you'll see that they're into tech. They have some kind of relation with tech. They're either passionate about tech, they're either gamers, they understand like fintech, right? I think that with NFTs, that's different because we now have to do with utility, we now have to do with art. So I definitely see billions of people using NFTs within the next 5 to 7 years. And I definitely see like like Fortune 500 brands, for instance, hopping into, and we're seeing that and experiencing that already in a sense, right? Hopping into like the Web3 NFT space in the next few quarters with new projects and figuring out like ways to add utility. There are millions of different, if not billions of different scenarios of how you can add utility to an NFT, whether you're like a fashion brand or a movie theater or just an airline. I think that whether we want it or not, NFTs are going to become like part of our lives. What I don't understand, what I'm not sure about just yet is, like from the retail side, we might, end up having NFTs, but they might be as important as, I don't know, like credit cards, which you have it, you're going to pay for your coffee and your bagel or your donut with your Apple Wallet, whatever. But it's not something you don't trade credit cards, right? So it's like it's there, how it works, you pay it every month. So at some point, I think that the majority of like people that are into NFTs, they most likely are going to be using NFTs in a way that's not necessarily like, okay, let's trade my PFP, let's trade my Nike discount card. I think that it's going to be kind of like more basic, like the mainstream version of NFTs, the mainstream version of Web3. But then again, on the trading side, I'm super excited because I grew up being a gamer. I grew up playing Counter-Strike tournaments, World of Warcraft since day one, Call of Duty, like all these, massive game titles. And I understand that, like it's needed right now in the space to actually have assets that you can trade, because I might have spent, for example, $1,000 in Call of Duty skins during COVID, right? I don't own any of that. Now the new Call of Duty is going to come out later this year, and then pretty much I'm going to be losing like $1,000 worth of assets, digital assets. Whereas they could have had, some kind of value if they were like NFTs, for instance, right? Even even like sentimental value, like the fact that I can log into my wallet and see the skin that I was using during COVID, whatever, just an example. So I personally feel like we're in this discovery mode right now. I think that we need to keep pushing for like different mechanics and different methods of monetizing, because what I don't find as the sustainable solution right now is basically Web3 native projects relying on royalties, relying on the next drop, relying on a derivative. We're not there yet. There isn't like a perfect system, and you see that the market keeps changing, right? So this system might have been like the best possible scenario like back in February, but now we're in this mode in which free mints are like the norm, right? So how are you going to survive? Like I've seen so many projects, I've talked to so many founders that are struggling right now because they don't have any liquidity, they don't have any cash flow. They've spent like $500,000 on doing things for the community, from merch to like this and that, and now they're like, how are we going to generate more cash flow? We can't just do another drop, right? Because no one's going to pay 0.1 or 0.08, which was the norm a few months ago.
It's definitely something that I think a lot about, and one of the ways that I think we are gonna solve that problem is you need to really have different forms of possibilities for generating revenue. So the mint is really like more of a token. It's more like almost like a Kickstarter. It's just the beginning of it. So one of the things we are going to do, first of all, we're going to obviously have the job board, the opportunities board on our platform. So it's like these are things that people can buy little tokens to post jobs and etc.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be NFTs. Like they're just like fungible tokens, or you could not even tokens, like you just pay something. And then the other thing is that one other way we're going to solve that problem is there's a big issue with advertising in Web3, and in that let's say for example Ledger or MetaMask, Rocket Pool, like all of these different companies that are advertising currently in podcasts, in different kinds of like YouTubers channels, etc. They're not really getting value enough for it, because I personally just skip through all of those. I'm like trying to listen to a podcast, and then you're suddenly bombarded by like 3 different ads, and it's just not a very nice experience. So one of the ways that we are going to solve that problem is that on our platform, we're going to have a section for sponsored sessions. And, let's say, for example, you're Ledger, or let's say Mintify, you raise, several million, and then you're like, we want to do a sponsored session, to access your audience. And then you come in and you pay for it, you do a sponsored session, and it's like people choose, and the recording is going to be there. People can go and see, like, okay, I am interested in Mintify. I'm going to go and watch this, and I'm going to learn how it's used, what it is exactly, right? And one of the things you can also do is that you can say that, for example, we will give away 2 mint passes, to people who join this session, and then we can raffle it off. So these are different ways that you incentivize people to come in and check it out, and in the process learn and discover. So this is one of the ways. So I think that like Web3 communities are going to need to find new ways of monetizing and being sustainable, so that they're not relying on the trading and royalties. Because one of the issues with that is that I have noticed that I think that some communities end up actually being in a position where they have to constantly post or share things that are going to drive the price down, and then do things that drive the price up. And it's like sometimes it's like it's not even genuine. Like, is it like is this really something that is happening in that space, or is it that the project is just doing that to make the price go up and down so that they can make money? But what's the implication of, if we are going to discourage people, at least in certain areas of NFTs, discourage them from trading, what does that mean for you in terms of Mintify? Does this mean that you're going to like put those projects in a different category, or say like tradables, or like
Yeah.
how are you going to approach that?
Right. Yeah. No, that's a good question. I don't think that we've tackled this as yet. I mean, we adapt with the market literally every week, because the market changes rapidly at this point. But I think that NFTs are like the majority of the NFTs and collections that are coming out are gonna, remain tradable. And I think that it's not something that we as founders or creators, for example, can control, because at the end of the day, the beauty of NFTs is that, like, okay, let's just say that you're buying like a Burberry shirt, right? You're paying like $600, $700, whatever. You own that, you wear that, and then you throw it away after a few years, right? Because um, with NFTs, imagine that if you could just buy that. I don't know if you've seen like the Izu project that's coming out, but perhaps like another discussion. But with NFTs, imagine that you're now part of the brand. Like in the next 2 years, you're going to be buying stuff from like, clothing from Chanel and like Burberry and Armani, or all the, nice brands that are out there. And instead of just paying the upfront payment to receive the goods, there's going to be like so many more different types of incentives for the consumers, that basically the consumer is going to be more connected to the brand than ever. And I'm not just talking about fashion. That's going to go into technology. That's going to go into like airlines. Imagine that the incentives that you're going to be getting from these brands are going to be making you money. So we're talking about creating ecosystems, entire ecosystems, right? New ecosystems that are not just going to be dependent on your wallet and your yearly salary, or the amount you're willing to spend on a mall over the weekend, because we're talking about like different mechanics in which you're now part of a brand, but this brand pays you back, for instance, depending on how loyal you are. So imagine, for example, Nike creating an NFT with, they already started with Artifact, right? And clones. I'm in the clone ecosystem. I love them. And I think that, brands like Nike and Artifact are actually pushing the boundaries. Brands like Proof are pushing the boundaries. Brands like Yuga are pushing the boundaries. And we just need more of that. Because right now the current state of the market is just, okay, what did Proof did, or Yuga or Artifact? Let's just try to replicate that. Even with a 30% success rate, we're going to raise $1 million with our next drop, right? But again, that's not sustainable. So going back to like the fashion brands, I think that all these reward systems that we're going to see in the next few months and in the next few years, it's just going to be like exciting, because these brands are going to finally reward their consumers, their loyal brand ambassadors, using blockchain technology and NFTs. So these ecosystems is going to be like super exciting.
The truth is that, like you said, you hit on the nail when you said that the truth is that the space is moving almost weekly, if not daily,
Yeah.
and every single day there's a new paradigm, there is a new, question, a new problem that we need to tackle. So it's a very exciting place to be. Okay, what's the next step for you guys? So tell me a little bit about your plans, where you're going with Mintify. So your initial drop was for around 1,000. How many tokens was it?
796.
Okay.
Yeah, approximately. That's pretty much it with a lifetime pass. Then we're going to be transitioning into our monthly plans starting in September. We're going to also be releasing, like, here's another interesting mechanic that we're going to be using. So we're going to be releasing a light pass, right? We're going to airdrop to all of our members within the first couple of weeks of September. And then that light pass, we're not going to charge for it. It's a free airdrop to our members, and they're going to define its value on secondary marketplaces. Now, with the light pass, the idea is that our community is going to distribute that, right? So they can define whether it costs like $100 or $500 or 0.1 ETH, whatever. And the idea is that if you hold the light pass, you're going to get a permanent discount on our monthly plans. So this is an interesting drop mechanic that we're experimenting with, because we know that we have a product that can sell by itself. And the idea is that we want to open up like 30-day trials for everyone to go through Mintify, to trade through Mintify. And we bet on the experience. Like, we even call ourselves like the experience layer with all the layer ones, layer twos. We call ourselves like part of the experience layer, because it takes companies like Mintify and our competition as well. There's some great products that are being built um, to onboard like the next set of traders, and then the next set of normies, and the next set of pro and quant traders, right? So I think that experimenting with, like blockchain technology and drop mechanics is what we should be focusing on within the next few months, so we can all like, basically it's all about A/B testing, right? To see like what works, what doesn't work, so then other people can try it and basically like create a more elevated or an improved version of what you just did, and kind of like make it the norm. And we've seen that there's like hundreds of different drop mechanics, but we're kind of like more used to like 5 or 6, right? With the allow list, the white list, the pre-sale, the public sale, and everything in between. But what's next for us? I mean, other than just the quant trading tools and the subscription plans in September, our next focus will be launching a creator studio. We also want to launch our own staking mechanic that's on chain, basically, like similar to what Moonbirds basically have. So we can reward our users for being loyal, because a lot of people, well, not a lot, but a small amount of people, for instance, might buy our token because they're like, okay, I believe in Evan or Mintify for the next 3 months. And then as soon as the token goes from 0.2 to like 1 ETH, I'm going to just flip it. That's for you to decide. Absolutely. But we want to make sure that if you stick around, you're going to get more rewarded for your loyalty rather than just making that trade. It's not about like forcing people not to sell, but it's rather than making it obvious that if you stick with a brand long enough, the ROI is going to be much greater than just flipping it for like 0.5 within just a few months. And I think that's what every founder right now in the space is struggling with, figuring out what's going to keep someone happy. Because just rolling out updates every day and rolling out new features and collabs and partnerships, that just doesn't cut it, right? Like, I think that people, like the community is getting burned out. No one is talking about that. Everyone's like, founders are getting burned out. Yeah, I got like burned out like 100 times between January and today, being CEOs of 2 different tech companies, right? But we need to also talk about like burning out your community, right? Because with all these like treasure hunts, all that mystery, the hype, the scams, and everything in between, people are getting burned out. And this is one of the reasons they're exiting the space at its current form, right? And no one is talking about that. So Web2 is all about simplifying things, right? Like you just log in on Facebook and you can just create an ad within like 5 minutes. You can just find your next favorite coffee shop, through Google Maps or this and that. But in Web3, everything is just so complicated right now. So even if you are a full-time degen trader, you just end up having like a headache every day, regardless of whether you're having profitable or not trades. So yeah, that's my take.
No, I totally agree. I actually have also been thinking a lot about just, that even with our platform, just like keeping things really simple and, to the utility. And funny you said that about the drop thing, because I was thinking a similar kind of thing where we would potentially, do a drop for our first, Genesis holders and say that you can use it to bring somebody into the space, like you can gift it, and bring somebody new into the space. There are lots of different mechanics, and I love Web3 because it gives us so much flexibility, and it's just a whole new space. It's like we have a canvas that we can paint from from scratch, but at the same time, like you said, there's also a lot of complexity which we need to strip away. Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been super, super interesting. Like I said, I would love to have you on the platform, on the NFT Insider, to explain more about the details, share your screen, show us exactly how things work. And also thank you for supporting our job.
Likewise, and thanks for having me today. That was super fun, and wish you all the best.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Evan. We will also be hosting him on the Impeak platform soon to dive deeper into the technical aspects of Mintify. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to subscribe to it on Apple, Spotify, or any other one of your favorite podcast channels. And don't forget to give it a 5-star rating and write a review. The full interviews are also available on my YouTube channel, The Somi Arian Show.